What's up, y'all? New project. All right, here we've been called to do some skim coating, right? To basically take these walls and make them look brand new, totally flat. Like I said, my area, flat wall, nobody does any kind of texture, right? But here's what happened. Look at these walls. Now, what it looks like is that somebody just put new drywall up, but no. What happened was the homeowner was gonna paint and there was a couple bubbles in a few spots. So they would just scrape the bubbles, you know what I mean? And they kept scraping and scraping and scraping. Next thing you know, they were just peeling paint off the walls like it was nothing. It's what happens when you don't use primer on bare drywall and drywall mud. So all the paint just peeled off. And it wasn't like it hadn't been here for years. Like I said, this house is like 50 years old. So the paint had been on there for a long time. It's just nobody ever dared to scrape the bubble. So look at this up here. You can see see how the paint came off? You know what I mean? Like all the way around the top. See how that paint came off? Yeah, it just started pulling off in sheets. So I always tell people, always remember if you're gonna paint, there's a huge difference between primer or paint with primer in it. I don't believe in none of that. None of that paint that already has primer in it. You need actual primer, some sort of PVA primer that'll seal this drywall. So now what I'm gonna have to do some good old fashioned skim coating. But first, y'all see a lot of these spots where it's like they ripped the paper, where you got the brown paper showing. Well, you can't just mud over that. I mean, I guess you could take the risk, but you want to seal all those spots. Plus, I got to paint the ceiling. And one thing you'll notice about in here, I don't even know if you can see it on the camera. I don't think you can tell, but it's semi-gloss paint, right? So the same thing, the paint that's on the trim is on the walls. And, we can't just go paint right over that. And it's on the ceiling too. I don't know if you see how glossy that is. You see the light shining off it. So I'm priming the whole thing. I'm gonna prime the whole room, ceiling, and I figured since I got all these little brown spots, I might as well just prime the walls, prime everything, all right? So that when I start mudding, I know everything's gonna stick. I don't have no problems. So that's what we're gonna do first. I got a little spot in the wall down here too. That's a nice little hole. Beautiful. So I got a nice little hole. I'll fix that, but I'm not gonna fix that right now. What I'm gonna do right now is just go ahead and prime these walls. So let's get it, man. I primed the walls, but I also primed the ceiling. Like I said, it was semi-gloss up there. But you know me, while we're painting and getting this room transformed, we might as well talk about something. Just like if we at work, we're gonna be talking about something. We're not gonna be talking about paint all day. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, in the spirit of November, it got me thinking. I started this business, like I said, it's been 8 years since I started this business, right? And there are a lot of things that push me to start the business. And there are a lot of things that's gonna push you forward to start whatever you're gonna start. The thing is that it comes in all forms, right? It's not always something that's fun and great. Sometimes it's things that make you mad, get you irritated, that push you. But you gotta be thankful for all of them, right? All the positive, all the negative. Look, it is hard in the moment to be thankful for the negative. It's almost impossible. I don't know. It's almost impossible to do that. But after the fact, hindsight, you look back, you're like, I'm thankful that happened because that was the impetus that pushed me towards starting this thing. So let me give you an example. I am thankful for the 2 trash AC guys that came to my house, man. The first one just tried to charge me extra for no reason. I told him, I got a leak, bring extra Freon. He proceeded to not bring extra Freon, had to go back to the shop to get more, and then try to charge me for the hour that it took for him to go get the extra Freon. Okay, that's number one. Appreciate that, bro. You lit a fire under me that day. The second guy came to replace a mini split system, wired it backwards, fried the brand new unit, left my wall looking like a crime scene, and then was asking for money. Like, crazy. But I appreciate you, bruh. Because guess what, man? It showed me what the absolute worst customer service looks like. So, hey, in the end, I'm thankful for y'all. Now, next, I gotta thank the wife, man. Gotta thank the wife. Now, not in the obligatory way, because, you know, not just because she is. Nah, like when I approached her and I said, look, it's time for me to quit my job. I've only been doing this 3 or 4 months, but it's time for me to go full time into this business. And I don't have any experience, and I've been at this job for 15 years. It'd have been totally understandable for her to be like, man, are you crazy, fool? Like, no. But she didn't. For whatever reason, you're gonna have to ask her. But regardless, thanks for riding with me and having my back, even if things would have went left. But luckily they didn't. Now it's time to do some skim coating, y'all. Y'all see, look, I got the roller is 1.25 inches. It's like a heavy duty masonry roller, man, to make sure it soaks up all that mud. And I'm using, on the first coat, I'm using all purpose, just because, I don't know, somebody might disagree with me, but all purpose is the hardest substance known to man next to concrete once it's dry. So I like that first coat to be real solid, man, and then it gives it a nice base for the top coat. You're gonna have to add some water to the all purpose because you want it a creamy consistency. You don't want it too wet though, because then it's just gonna run down your walls and it's just gonna be too thin to make a layer. And you don't want it too thick, of course, because you're not gonna be able to roll it out. So nice creamy consistency, and it's gonna roll on beautifully. Then you can get that skimming blade, and a lot of brands sell them now, you know, but I use the level 5. Truth be told, I mean, you don't have to have a skimming blade to do this, but it does make it a lot easier. Like I said, I got the one, and you know, it's attached to the pole, so I can reach right up to that crease, that corner, and just drag it down, man. And then I roll from the bottom, and then I meet it at the middle. So it just works out perfectly. Now, if you apply the mud smooth enough, you won't have to sand. You shouldn't have to sand between the layers, right? So I got the whole first layer done, and now I'm just scraping the walls, scraping any little high spots, any spot that, you know, I just want to take a little bit off of. If you have a little line or something like that, that's it. That's it. No sanding should be done, as far as I'm concerned, until you're completely finished at the end. All right, y'all, the thing about skim coating is that it's just hard to appreciate. You know what I mean? So I got the first layer done. Let me see if I can show you a little bit. All right, see on this wall, it's just super flat now. These spots where, you know, you look like there was drywall mud or whatever, it still protrudes a little bit. Like this one, you can maybe see that one still comes up a little tiny bit, but for the most part, it's nice and smooth, right? And like I said, this is all the way around the room. All right. So what I'm gonna do is do one more layer, and I'm gonna use +3 for that. That +3 is a mud, doesn't have a lot of glue in it. It's really easy to sand and leaves a nice smooth finish once it's sanded, right? So I'm gonna do a thin layer of +3, and that should be that. That should be good. I might have to, with that drywall patch, put a little bit and feather out the edges, a little bit extra mud, feather out the edges, but for the most part, I should be doing one more layer, and that's it. So let's get it in. That's what I love about skim coating, man. You can take walls that are a disaster and make them look perfect again. The customer thought they might have to take all the drywall off the walls and just redo it from scratch. Not on my watch. But man, look, I'm thankful for so many things. I'm thankful for all the low-paying jobs that I had. I had so many of them, you know, that, I mean, when I was searching and just trying to figure this life out, but all those jobs taught me something. I'm thankful for every single one of them. You know what I mean? Gotta give a shout out to the parents, man. Look, Robin and Calvin in the building. If it wasn't for them, look, this business would have been done a long time ago. Matter of fact, even before I started it, I was doing work on their house, like doing tile floors and stuff that, I knew how to do, but I wasn't a professional. But I was able to build those skills up by them giving me the opportunity to do the work at their house. Thanks, y'all, man. I appreciate that. But now I got to take it back in the other direction. You know what I mean? There's always some negative that turned to positive. But I used to work at Sears, y'all. For anybody that remembers Sears, youngsters, y'all might not. But store called Sears, man. And I was an asset protection agent, which is just a fancy title for a security guard. I felt like they gave us that title because they wanted a way to give us more responsibility without paying us more money. But we had a lot of responsibilities, man, that was ridiculous. And I was making like $5.15 an hour, barely above minimum wage in the late 90s. You know what I mean? So I'm struggling. And I'm talking to the managers, I'm talking to everybody about, man, we need to figure out how to increase the salary because this is crazy. Well, my manager at the time, God bless his soul. I talked to everybody, and then finally we're in a staff meeting. And I'm talking like, look, we need to figure out how to increase his pay or something, whatever. Man, he looks at me, looks at everybody in the room, all the other security guards, and says, look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got 2 kids in New Jersey, and as long as they're taken care of, I really don't care about anything else. It was a hard lesson. It was a hard pill to swallow at the time. I'm 18. But it was a good lesson to learn early, man, because I learned that nobody is going to look out for you like you. Nobody. So, it's something I took with me to every job I ever worked after that. And luckily, that was my first job after high school. I had jobs while I was in high school, but that was my first full-time job after high school. Nobody's going to look out for you like you. So I never went to a job thinking that I'm owed something, that they're going to pay me this and they're going to pay me that because I earned it somehow, and even if it was the case that they should have paid me, like at this job, I was doing everything. I was opening the store. I trained that guy, the guy who ended up being a manager. I trained him. It's crazy. But it just taught me a lesson that as long as I'm employed, I'm going to be at their mercy. So eventually I'm going to employ myself. Thanks, Steve. All right, y'all, skim coating is completed. All right, check these walls out. Oh, hold on, let me turn this light on. You can see a little better. Bam, here we go. It is during the day, but all right. Now y'all see, nice and flat. Those lines, even though some spots you still see the line, like from where the mud was. If you look closer, you can still see it, but it's completely flat. All right, it's under a little light layer of mud. So what we're gonna do now is do some sanding. All right, I'm gonna tell you straight up, you can mud, you can do all that, and you can do a really good job, but sanding is the key to making this thing perfect. And these are flat walls. In my area, people don't do texture. I might've said that already in the video. I gotta stress that, because there's a lot of people who are very opinionated on how to finish drywall. My thing is like this, these walls are flat. Like I said, now, nice and smooth, except but to get it perfectly smooth, I gotta do a little bit of sanding. Now, when I start off, I do the corners with a hand sander because, the power sanders, they don't really reach the corners well. And I like my corners sharp. So I fold the sandpaper over the edge and I get over in those corners, man. I get that corner really creased hard. Then I got the power sander with a vacuum attachment. This one, I actually used a manual vacuum sander as well. Now this one I'm using 220 sheets on this one. So it's really just a fine tune, and I want the walls perfect. It could just be me. I could be the only one that does this and I'm just a little extreme. But I want the walls perfectly flat. Speaking of that perfection mentality might have came from another place. I'm thankful for 15 years. I worked as a lab technician, man, doing materials testing. Where you have to be precise. Loved it, and I was really thankful to get that job. On the other hand, it's part of what pushed me out. It was a place where we didn't get a raise for a decade, and I was struggling, working weekend jobs and everything. And then in the end, after all, they told us they weren't going to raise the pay because not enough people were quitting. So I'm thankful now for it, but man, at the time, it was So frustrating. Now, since I already primed it once, and y'all saw me prime it once, I had to prime it after I finished skim coating the walls, and there was no point in showing that again. You saw me prime it once, it's priming walls. Now, paint time, man. And to me, one of the most critical skills you're gonna have to learn if you wanna paint and be able to finish the job completely, is you're gonna have to learn how to cut in walls, man. Cut in ceilings. You always have to learn how to just cut in, because it's gonna save you so much time. Some people believe in just taping, just tape everything off, and that's just what you do. I'm just a believer that for efficiency's sake, you just gotta learn how to cut in, and you just need a good paintbrush and time. And over time, you'll get better and faster, and then it just won't take you forever. When I first started doing these cut-ins, I'll show you the first job I did, because it's at my house. I had a few spots where I hit the ceiling with the paint, but how else you gonna learn? You gotta learn somehow, so make your life easier. Learn how to cut in. Also, I gotta thank, looking at this video, man, I gotta thank the Idaho painter, because I just literally stole his whole technique. I mean, I guess it's not really stealing if he puts it out there for you to learn. So, much appreciated. I'm thankful for a lot of things, man. I think it's one of those things you gotta think about what you're thankful for. What are you thankful for? The good and the bad. Sometimes you look back and all the adversity is what built you into who you are. You can't look back and look mad at it. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you gotta be positive about it, and like, man, as hard as it was to go through, I appreciate that. I appreciate what it built me into and who it built me into. Even on this platform right here, I'm appreciative, man. I'm thankful for any and everybody who's ever clicked on one of my videos. I just recently hit 20,000 subscribers, and I mean, just a couple years ago, I was just ecstatic when I hit like 1,500. You couldn't tell me anything. So to be now at 20,000, and I'm thankful for everybody who's ever hit the like button, everybody who's commented on a video, even the negative ones. Just know that in your own way, you're appreciated. I mean, some of y'all. I'm thankful for anybody who's ever dropped jewels like that didn't have to. That's fed into my mentality over the years. You didn't have to do it, and you did, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, all the people sharing their information here on YouTube, that makes this information available and not gatekeep like it used to be. Makes it available for everybody to do what you will with it. Thank you for that. And thank God for giving me the strength, the ability, the will, the drive, the ability to figure things out, the knowledge that's been bestowed upon me. Thank you for that. I appreciate every last bit of it. And, I'm trying to use these skills and this mind frame to the best of my ability, and hopefully it helps to enhance you guys. You see right there, I just finished painting. I am gonna put one more coat, but no need to see another coat. We're just gonna look at the finished product. Bam, look at that, man. Those walls, I did paint the ceiling. You can tell it's not shiny no more, but the ceiling's done. The walls painted to perfection. That's what you call a level 5 finish right there, man. Don't get smoother than that. And once again, thank you for watching. Daryl, also known as the Finisher. Stay safe, be blessed, and remember, if the trades don't work, nothing else does.